AskReddit by Chi Ingenuity 6833. What's something that's always wrongly depicted in movies and TV shows? People who pop out of a sewer system in the middle of the street by easily pushing aside the manhole cover. Those damn things are heavy. That's why it makes sense only when Spider-Man does it, because he's stupidly strong. Outrunning explosions. Apparently you only have to worry about the flame and the concussive impact is really minimal. If it's enough to lift you in the air, it's enough to kill before you hit the ground. The way that apparently crime labs solve crimes with DNA tests and unlimited access to every camera in every building in the city. Enhance. Enhance more. There it is. How absolutely loud gunfire is, especially in enclosed spaces. Hero in a concrete stairwell, no hearing protection. Bang bang bang. Then his footsteps as someone sneaks up on them. You'd be deaf and ears ringing for a day after. Yeah, Linda Hamilton has hearing loss in one ear because she forgot to wear plugs in a take of the elevator scene in Terminator 2. Deleted. I like to call in information to my dispatchers. Her name is Jane Jrne Wojciechowski, common spelling. The instant death neck crack. But that's Steven Seagal's signature move. Are you telling me he isn't trustworthy? ? How to properly use a goddamn inhaler for asthma. Well, everyone knows that once you've defeated the bully, succeeded at your adventure, and kissed the pretty girl, you don't even need it anymore. When their entire family or friend group dies, but they are absolutely fine after a minute or two and just move on. Luke was barely phased by his aunt and uncle burning to death. Anything to do with forensics and autopsies. Medical examiners' offices are incredibly poorly funded. They do not have access to 1% of the technology shown on TV, and in fact, a lot of what is shown just doesn't exist. That the only thing to worry about in space movies is if a planet has oxygen or not. And if they do, gravity is always right around 1g. Spare time. When do these people work and where does the money come from? Friends had a funny moment, I believe it was Friends anyway, where they were all complaining about their jobs and one of them said something along the lines of, well, not that strange you're getting nowhere, considering you're lounging in a cafe on a Tuesday. The 80s. Turn on the radio in the 80s and you could well hear a song from the 60s. House decors were often a mix of the 70s and 80s. And cars were often not from that decade. Movies make the 80s out to be neon blue and pink. But I remember the 80s as being very brown. I can tell from my baby pictures from the early 80s that everything around me was brown or yellow. It always bothers me how long people look over at their passenger when driving. Keep your eyes on the road. Or have long conversations with plenty of eye contact while driving at highway speeds. Defibrillators are always hilarious, because that is never how they work, ever. Or CPR. Or backboards. Or C-collars. Or intubations. Or hacking. Computers are basically the new Deus Ex Machina. About 10 minutes before the show's over, the resident nerd will say something like, I cross-referenced the license plate with the average rainfall in each region, and compared that with the average number of clown shoes sold per capita in nearby American cities, so the killer is probably in this 3-block radius. Then, there's a car chase. Yellow tint when there is a scene in Mexico. I went to Mexico and can confirm your vision turns yellow. The sound usually used for an eagle call in movies is actually the call of a red-tailed hawk. Eagles just don't sound majestic enough, so they did the ol' switcheroo. Same thing with lions. The lion roars in Lion King were tigers. Women in fights with long hair not pulled back. The IRL explanation for this is that it makes it easier to have the stunt woman be less noticeable. An example of this is in Captain America, the Winter Soldier. In the street fight scene, anytime Natasha's hair is in her face, it's the stunt woman. It's still annoying, though. Ammo remaining in their gun. As a rule, you always have more rounds until the drama of the scene demands that you suddenly don't. The treatment for flatline. No, you are not supposed to get the defibrillators. Edit, I'm a former cardiology technician student who couldn't quite pass the licensing exam. Others in the comments below are more knowledgeable than I am. I know some stuff. Aren't those supposed to be for arrhythmias? What an elementary classroom looks like. You mean the 12 kids per class? After reading the comments, I'm convinced there is enough good material in here for decent comedy where realism continually gets in the way of the story. Birth. Yes. The infamous "oh here I am at a restaurant, whoops my water broken, now the baby is crowning." Like, probably someone has given birth like that. That's not a typical experience, but it is what's depicted a lot for some reason. Anyone curious? The difference is it's slow. Wow. Some people are in labor for just a few hours, and that's very quick. The average labor lasts 12 to 24 hours for a first birth and is typically shorter, 8 to 10 hours, for other births. First Ask Google result. My first baby was a whopping 36 hours, contractions 2-4 minutes apart the entire time, second baby 9 hours. I looked through this entire comment section and saw a lot of repeats, but I haven't seen this yet. HVAC ducts are not strong enough to hold a human. They are made to hold air. Edit, I must add additional information to my statement after all the HVAC techs commenting. Yes, you can climb and stand on some ducts. Some are big and strong enough. But these are exceptions, not the rule. The exceptions can mainly be found in large applications, commercial or industrial, or in some cases, the main branch of the ductwork. Generally speaking, you can't climb in ducts. The main duct is only a small part of the system. The majority is made up of ducts that branch off from the main and deliver air to spaces. Additionally, the HVAC system for a building is typically split into zones, so there's several main ducts. That is smaller mains because they have less air while movies portray otherwise. You can't enter the HVAC system at one point and expect to get anywhere you want in the building. You must enter the right zone, and even then, they won't get much further than the main duct, which is probably located over a hallway, and most likely, will not be able to reach specific rooms. And always conveniently human-sized, too. Cancer treatment. The person always has a completely bald head, no discoloration because that part of the head has almost never seen the sun, but still have their eyebrows perfectly done, or else they have no eyebrows, again, perfectly shaved, and they always have their eyelashes. Chemo causes hair to fall out everywhere, but how many actors are going to let makeup get rid of their eyelashes? Adding on to this, how they depict diabetes. From one cupcake to coma or injecting insulin follows. It's wild. Teenagers. Teenagers are always shown as shorter than their parents. This is niche. And by niche I mean the nichest of niche. But anyway, in almost every film or television show depicting military combat in the 18th century, think the American Revolution or the 7 Years' War, the soldiers wear their cocked hats, tricorn hats, facing forward. In reality the hats were worn at an angle because if you had to turn your head while shouldering your rifle or musket, it would end up hitting your head where out of place had they been worn facing forward. This is a great one. Fighting. Especially knife fighting. Nobody wins in a knife fight. It's gonna get nasty and both parties are likely to end up with slashes and punctures. I saw something recently where a girl's body was discovered with 90-something defensive wounds. Imagine both parties had a knife. It was tragic for her, but the killer could have received some nasty wounds too if she was also slashing. Any relationship in a romantic comedy would be classified as stalking or harassment in the real world. Honey, I climbed on your roof to prove my love to you. WTF, go away, I'm calling the police. Opening presents. The boxes almost always have a top that lifts right off rather than being wrapped like a gift. Yeah, the props department doesn't want to have to rewrap it between every take.